So I know it's connecting. And then you'll see up in the left-hand corner where it says live. So people might start getting on there. You know, we might have one person, we might have 50. Yeah, people hopping on and hopping off. They'll see my ugly mug and leave. They won't leave because of you, but they'll definitely leave because of me.
Yeah. Well, it's all recorded anyway, right?
Yeah, and I'll edit it down. You want the raw, or do you want it so you could do the editing? Because I would cut out, you know, I would be question without any gaps in between.
Yeah, I mean, you feel free to edit it.
Okay.
You probably do a better job than I would.
I just cut out the stuff.
Yeah.
Like me getting a sip of water, probably cut that out.
I'm going without my glasses too. Like, man, I can see the screen well enough. So.
No problem. Hey, everybody, if you're watching, we'll get started here shortly, like really shortly, like very, very soon. So the 4 of you watching right now, thanks for getting on. We'll get started here in just a sec. Facebook makes you be very prompt. They send you an alert. If you start 10 minutes of 1 second late, they terminate you.
Yeah.
You can't start more than 10 minutes late. Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, it's Rick Silva, referral coach with One Referral Away, and I'm here today with my friend Tony Carrozza. I'm going to interview Tony. Tony's a master sales coach with Profit Minds LLC. Welcome, Tony.
Thanks, Rick. Good to be here.
Thank you for getting on. Okay, so Tony, first off, tell me a little bit about you, your background, and how you got into sales.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much of this was purposeful, but after getting out of college, where I had a BA in political science, I just wound up. My first job was really working the phones in a sales office, and it was for a franchise company, and that was the start of my sales career. And from there, I went through a lot of different jobs, a lot of different companies. I wound up after a few years in high tech in the early 80s. And that's where I spent the bulk of my career, and working for a number of both public, private companies, startups, etc. And during that time, I kind of rose up through the ranks from sales rep to regional manager to VP of sales, and then SVP of sales. And my last 15 years or so in high tech, I was running global sales organizations for several different public companies. So I can tell you, probably it wasn't a thought process when I left college, but as I went through my career, I knew what I wanted to do, and that was to run sales organizations. And I had the opportunity to, and I had a great time. Loved doing it, and had a good career.
Yes, you did. Tony's being very modest. Tony, before I ask you another, I have a follow up to what you just said. Before I do, can you tell everybody a little bit about Profit Minds and what Profit Minds does? Because it's pretty cool. It's not just you; it's a group of experts.
Yeah, sure. So I'm involved in this business with several partners, as well as a backup organization. And what we do is we're focused on small businesses, and these are relatively small businesses. Most of them are less than $5 million in sales. We even go down as low as a startup or a solo entrepreneur. And we position ourselves as business growth experts, and we're really focused on getting revenue and profits up for any small company. And we've got some unique processes and methodologies to do that. We really focus on helping them differentiate themselves from all of their competitors in the marketplace. and really take advantage of the emotional triggers that get people to buy a particular product or service. So some of what we do is very sales oriented, some of it's marketing oriented, and we even get a little bit into their financials and try to look at expenses and things like that. But the bulk of this, since it is growth oriented, is focused on what we can do to help them generate more leads, a higher conversion rate, more transactions per customer. We look at pricing and the value that they offer, and we look at things like bundling. And lastly, we do look at cost and see if we've got expenses that we could either redeploy or drop to the bottom line. Okay. So it's real fulfilling working with a lot of entrepreneurs and in a variety of different businesses.
That was, I think you partly answered my follow-up. My follow-up to your background, a lot of corporate, a lot of big corporate level sales. What's the desire or the passion for you in helping the small business owner as opposed to doing big corporate?
Yeah, when I my career came to an end by my choice, in large part, the last company I worked for was public. It was about a $500 million organization in high tech, and we got acquired, which was really strategically a great move for the company. And it turned out to be a breaking point for me where I could look at, do I want to go do yet another high tech business, or do I want to do something different? And after spending over 30 years doing what I did, I decided to do something different. And I had been focused on small businesses now for the past, it's almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And the rationale was, all of my skills and knowledge are in sales and marketing primarily, but I've operated at an executive level in corporations, so I understand how companies run across the board. Mm. And I thought there was a great opportunity to go help small business people, many of whom don't have the resources they need, many of whom don't have the experience and knowledge that we could take from a corporate environment and bring down to small business. Now, not all of those translate. A lot of them do, though. And so, to me, it was really a great way to employ my experience and the knowledge I gained over all of those years.
That I came from corporate, not as long as you did, but 10 or 15 years in corporate. And my desire was always to try to help the small guy get big as opposed to the big guy getting bigger. I always had this passion to help the individual entrepreneur. What's the number one thing you'd say to a small business owner about getting started to help them succeed quickly?
Every situation is different, but what I would say is the most important thing is the positioning of your business to the marketplace and to customers and prospects. I mentioned earlier about differentiation. That is critically important, and we try to work with them right up front to develop that market dominating position that really gives them an edge over the competition. SEO is important, obviously, but you need to have a message that resonates with your target audience. So it's really defining who your target audience is, and then crafting the messaging that you need to really connect with them. And as I said, and as we most of us know, a lot of purchasing and buying is done at an emotional level, and then afterwards we use some logic to rationalize it. And so it's really taking those things about differentiating the company and speaking directly to the needs, the wants, and the issues and problems that your prospective client and the target market's going to have. That's another thing they can do right off the bat. And that really gets us rolling with beginning to generate more interest and more leads.
Here's try to keep this one short because we could go pretty long with this one. But a mistake small business owners make that should be obvious but isn't, and how to avoid it.
I would say that in many cases, they do not do a good job of developing a prospect list that they can nurture over time. When you look at who purchases a product today in terms of your overall market, it's a very small percentage who are ready to buy something today. And so if you only try to sell to that segment, well, guess what? You're going to continue to have a very small business. Whereas your complete universe of prospects that's out there, you want to be able to reach out to them and contact them and provide them with valuable information, get known to them so that you become the expert in your particular field and get recognized for that. So that when they do become an active buyer, you're the obvious choice. And I've seen too many small businesses not really rely on building that pipeline of opportunities.
Yeah. That so resonates with me, Tony, because I talk to people with networking. People want to network, but they only want to network to find people who are ready to buy right now. What about planting seeds? Yeah. What if they're ready in 60 days? What if they want to buy in 3 years? Is it bad that you met them today? No, it gives you a longer, like you said, sometimes the pipeline's a week, sometimes it's 3 or 4 years. But if we want to stay in business, we need to find, it doesn't always have to. I studied under a guy and his saying was get on people and track them and chase them until they buy or die. And my whole thing is, if they're not ready to buy now, just sprinkle some fertilizer on. The plant will grow sooner or later.
You're exactly right. And, with your expertise in networking, you obviously know that. A perfect example for me was I had coffee. This was several years ago. I reached out to somebody I had worked with a long time earlier in corporate. We probably hadn't seen each other in 10 years, but I figured, well, she's in a small business now. I'm going to give her a call. Had coffee with her, talked about what they're doing, talked about what I'm doing. That was the end of it. About a year later, and heard from her since. About a year later, she gives me a call. She goes, "You know what, Tony? I think we need you now."
Yep.
And it turned into a long-standing customer. I worked with them for over 14 months and helped them build out their sales organization and get their sales going.
Yeah, you never know. I used to talk to Marcella. Just have coffee meetings. It doesn't matter when they buy, but if you keep planting those seeds, you turn around someday and you look back and there's a crop.
Exactly.
But it's meeting people with the singular focus of, are they ready to buy right now? Because if not, I don't want to talk to them. You can't build any relationships that way.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here's the next one. What's the biggest money waster most small business owners spend money on and they really shouldn't?
Well, I hate to generalize this, but I think it falls into a little bit in terms of what we do. I see too many business owners who want to do some marketing or some campaigns, but they tend to do them as one-offs. So it's sort of like, okay, I haven't done anything in a while. I'm going to run a promotion, 10% off, which we don't always really promote doing discounts like that as a promotion. So they'll run these campaigns. I like to call them random acts of marketing. And because at the end of the day, they, in most cases, really don't get much of a return for that investment. Sometimes they don't even measure it, so they don't even know. And where we try to start with a small business owner is, let's take a step back and have a strategy here in terms of what we want to do, what the messaging needs to be, what's our route, what are the things we're going to do over time that build upon each other to go from leads to conversions, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say more often than not, it's spending money on programs that don't give them a return.
Next one. What's a secret you could share that would put small business owners leaps and bounds ahead of the competition?
Oh, you ask a lot of easy questions there, right?
That's why we're here.
Yeah, leaps. I really have to go back to the differentiation and this idea of a market dominating position. You've got to be able to relate to your prospects. What is special about you? If you take any business in any particular industry and you look at a website and then you look at 3 or 4 or 5 of the competitors, all those websites pretty much say the same thing. Been in the business a long time, great on service, great quality, and so websites are all a little bit different, but the content's basically the same. And we're really trying to turn that so that whatever, whether you call it a market dominating position, a unique selling proposition, whatever your value proposition is, but it's what makes you different and special, and why should people even consider doing business with you? And I think that's the key for us in terms of driving prospects, driving activity, and eventually sales.
Boy, I look at all these and go, Tony's going to get mad at me if I'm beating him up too much. Because some of these take an hour to answer, and I understand that. I get asked questions all the time. I go, you got an hour? Because So, but here's the next one. Give me, it's the question says, what's the number one time waster small business owners need to avoid? But anything you want to throw out about, wasting time?
Yeah, so I guess the way I would answer that question is, and because I think it is a good question, because what it strikes at is the fact that, we all hear this, I think, all the time is, as an owner, you gotta stop working in your business and take time to work on your business. And so when you say a time waster, historically, we also like to say, 20% of what you do basically generates the bulk of your revenue.
Yeah.
So what are you doing that other 80% of the time? And very often it's things that either obviously don't generate revenue or growth, or more importantly, could be handed off to somebody else, whether that's somebody else in the organization or you used an outsourced resource to do it. But that's how I see time wasted. It really is a redeployment of time to work on your business, as opposed to getting so lost and down in the weeds.
Got it. What's your, I have about 15. So this is another one. It's not a simple answer, but what's your favorite book, or even top 2 or 3 books to help a small business owner on small business growth?
I read one fairly recently that I really liked for a few reasons, and the name of it was Profit First. It's by a gentleman, and I always have trouble with his name, so I wrote it down. I think it's Michalowicz, something like that. Sorry, apologies if I butchered his name.
Go on Amazon and type in the title. What was the title again?
Profit First.
Profit First, be easy to find.
And what I like about the book is it speaks in very plain terms. It is directly addressing small businesses and small business owners. He uses a fair amount of humor in the book as well, which I always enjoy. So it's not a dry read. It's really interesting. But what he does is he turns the basic financial equation around. So most of us think revenue minus expenses equals profits, right? Well, no. It's revenue minus profits equals expenses. And I hope everybody gets the difference there. What he tries to tell owners is your expenses come after you have basically paid yourself. And I don't mean that just in terms of salary. I mean it in terms of profit to the company. And he makes the point, even if it's $1 to start, you need to start siphoning off money in the way of profit. And it is actually an excellent way to control your expenses. So,
Tony, is that put on the air?
That's one of the primary premises.
Is that put on the air mask in an airplane if it loses compression? You put your air mask on first before you help others, basically.
Yeah. That's an analogy. Yeah, it really is. It's you're in business to make money and to make profit.
Yeah.
So too many small businesses let their expenses get out of control or get way in front of their revenue as well.
I'm going to show something on the screen real quick. Nancy Ward, Rick, I have a question after the live stream is done. Nancy, if you want to type that in, I'm going to take that off just to show you that if you guys have questions, I can put it on the screen. Go ahead and ask the question now, Nancy. Well, I'll ask Tony before this is done if it pertains to the topic. So if not, just you can email me at onereferralaway@gmail.com if it's regarding something for me. And then Tony's email address is on the bottom, Tony@profitminds.net. I saw that, and I got to find my questions again here, Tony. What's the single? So let's go into a little bit about Profit Minds and how you can help people. What's the biggest obstacle of a small business owner would face working with a company like yours?
That's an interesting worded question.
Let me read it fully. What's the single biggest obstacle a small business owner will face when starting out with Profit Minds, and how can they overcome it? My answer would be not understanding the value of a coach, but go ahead with yours.
Well, you're right. I mean, very often people need to understand, what the value is of a coach or a consultant and why you're bringing them in and what are the expected results. I think, though, probably second to that, though, is understanding how to work with a coach or a consultant and what that means. Because, just as technically they talk to us and interview us before they hire us. We're kind of doing the same because we need to make sure we've got an owner who recognizes he needs help, which is why he's reaching out, and is willing to listen. And not that we're dictatorial by any means, but it has to be a collaboration. And too often, if you get an owner who thinks they know best, or we've always done it that way, or they're a control freak, it really creates an obstacle and is really an impediment to success.
They're not coachable.
Yeah, and we try to catch that up front so that if we really get the feeling that it isn't going to work, then we might need to pass on it.
Got it. What's the least, I guess, the lowest barrier of entry to working with you guys? What's the least expensive but still effective way to kind of get in and do a toe dip with Profit Minds?
Sure. We actually provide a number of different services and different levels, depending on your needs and also depending on what you can afford. So we do one-to-one coaching, and our one-to-one coaching includes with it an upfront assessment, and we've got a pretty sophisticated software product that helps us do a multi-area, multi-criteria assessment of someone's business. What are they currently doing? Well, what are they getting out of that? What are things that we might be doing? It helps us assess their business. It helps us come up with some estimates of growth that we think we can drive. It even creates a roadmap of activities for us. And I won't go deeper than that, but because that's a much longer conversation, but it's a great tool. Secondly, they get access to our e-learning library. We have a series of 52 videos that are about 30 to 45 minutes in length that we release to them once a week. It complements our coaching. It gives them more example, gives them more in depth. They can go back and refer to the information on there. And so they get all that, plus, we meet with them on a consistent basis and help them execute some of the activities and programs. We also have group coaching for someone who can't go the one-to-one route. And we also have a program for people who really just want to look at doing some things on their own, just want some great information. We will sign somebody up to a do-it-yourself program where they basically get access to our e-learning library. And, they can take away a lot of information from there. Now, the issue is, for a business owner, does he have time to do all the things that are required to drive that growth? But, and that's very inexpensive. I mean, I'll tell you right here, it's about $200 a month to just have access to the e-learning library. The other thing I want to mention, Rick, is that we also will work in a situation where we'll have a flat fee, but we'll also be consider taking a smaller flat fee and then a percentage of the growth that we generate for the client. And our clients generally love that because they know then we've got skin in the game, and we're going to work as hard as possible to generate as much incremental revenue as profit as possible, because it benefits them and it benefits us.
I have somebody named David watching, and he keeps asking me a question about Nasara. I've never heard of it. I don't know what he's asking, but he's asking me like 6 times about it. I don't even know how to ask you about it because I don't know what it is, but I'm sticking on topic here. David, I don't know what that is.
Is it the National Association of Sales?
It's NESARA. I have no idea what that is.
ARA.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Let's keep moving. He's listening, so if he can clear up what that is, because I don't know what that is. I got to move on. Tony, what's a great video small business owners can watch to learn more about you and your company?
Well, we've got several of them. We've got one that basically just introduces what we do. It's a very short video, 3 to 5 minutes, and it's actually an animation, but it covers all the pertinent points. We also have a short video that talks about our software and how that operates, because it is key to helping us identify what we're going to do and the amount of growth or return on the investment that they're going to get. And third, we have one, it's a little bit longer. It's, I'd say it's probably about 45 minutes. But it's called "Everything You Knew About Marketing Is Wrong," which I think is a great way to put it. And so we're basically asking people to put aside, any of their preconceived notion, and we take them through some ideas around things, marketing, in terms of things they can do that they really probably haven't thought of before. And it's a little bit of taking things and turning them. And it's as I talked about earlier, getting inside the head of your customer, your prospect, etc. So
where can they find that, Tony?
They can find some of it on the website.
Go ahead and give that.
Excuse me?
Go ahead and give the website.
Yeah, the website is www.profitminds.net.
So it's right there at your email address, Tony@profitminds.net. So the video's at profitminds.net. Is
Yeah,
that where?
And they all aren't there. So if anybody would like multiple videos or a particular one, feel free to email me. I'll send it off to you.
Awesome.
Because we do have a lot of videos.
So one of the other questions, where can small business owners find out more about your company? We just covered that, Tony, at profitminds.net. Tony, closing remarks, things you want business owners to know, how you can help them, maybe a takeaway, whatever you'd like to close with.
Yeah, what I'd like to say is that the way we typically engage with any business owner is to do this assessment with them up front. And we're willing to do a portion of that assessment without any commitment whatsoever. And typically what we like to say, Rick, is we can identify at least $30,000 to $50,000 or more in incremental revenue for any small business in about 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the catchphrase we use. And it is because as we begin to work through this assessment, it doesn't take huge percentage increases across a number of different areas to generate exponential growth. So a small percentage in lead growth, small percentage in conversions, et cetera. Those wind up compounding each other, and it really leads to great growth. So what I would say is if you're having any issues growing your business, if you got seriously hurt with COVID, if you're just not growing as fast as you'd like, please feel free to reach out to us and at least have that initial conversation. And we'll be happy to do an initial assessment for you to at least you'll get an idea of how we work and the type of ideas we can bring to you and your business.
And one last thing, Tony, I don't know how precise we got on it, but let's go a little bit deeper on just real quick on the exact size of the target client you're looking for, number of employees, gross annual revenue, and can they be located anywhere in the world?
So I'll answer the first part. I'll answer the last part first, I should say. Yeah, we can do this business anywhere. A lot of it, almost all of it can be done virtually, through any means, whether it's Zoom or any other communication vehicle. We do meet regularly, but so we work with clients all over. My partner is in Northern California. I'm now in Southern California, but we also have clients out of state. So having said that, I got to remember the other part of the question, right?
Gross annual revenue, number of employees.
Yeah, thank you.
Any type of industries you like.
As I said earlier, typically we're under 5 million, and quite honestly, typically we're working with solo entrepreneurs or startups as they're trying to get to that first million, or that company that's made that million trying to get to 2. There's a lot of our clients in that space, or it's that client who's approached that $2 million, and now it's like time to really supercharge their growth, because the next level they're really looking to hit is obviously above 3 million, closer to 5 million. But so that hopefully that gives you a sense. In terms of number of employees, it depends on the type of business. Everything from solo entrepreneur, usually no more than 20 or 30 employees.
Last question. I always like to finish with this. If you recall, being in the networking groups, elevator pitch, give me 3 or 4 quotes that I'm going to hear word for word a business owner say that's going to make me think they got to talk to Tony.
Sure. So this is what you'd hear a business owner say, or if you overhear them saying it. Gee, my business has been flat for the past 2 to 3 years. or my business has been hurt. My business was down about 20% in 2020 because of COVID, or I'm working way too many hours. I got to keep my hands involved in everything. I don't have any free time. That's another signal. I think those are probably some of the main ones, Rick.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Tony. So on the bottom, you'll see my info. If you need help building a referral-based practice, it's scrolling. Whew, there it is. onereferralaway@gmail.com. The website's onereferralaway.com. And then we click a magic button and it shows Tony with Profit Minds. Tony's email address is tony@profitminds.net. Tony,
Yep.
I miss seeing you. You moved away from me. I don't get to hug you. So I'm virtual hug.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Rick.
I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.